things that we've been through. Every great leader aspires, that's official. Once a great student desired before dismissal, to be the spark to ignite the fire.
Greetings. Welcome back to Share This Conversations with Ruben. I am Ruben Roberts, CEO and founder of RER Consulting Enterprise and Amplified Community Resources, my nonprofit organization. Today, we have a very special guest, good friend of mine, Brother Rick Beasley. He's a man of faith, he is a community leader, and he is the CEO of Career Source South Florida. How you doing, Rick?
Brother, I'm great. It's good to see you, Ruben. It really, truly, honestly, it is good to see you.
It's always a pleasure to see you, my brother.
Right.
So, I'm glad that you joined us with the podcast today. And today's podcast is going to be about leadership and faith. And I know that you're a deacon in the church.
Yes.
You're a man of faith. You're definitely committed to the community. He is from
Kansas City,
the Show Me State.
The Show Me State.
He hails from the Show Me State.
World champions.
Oh, yeah. Lord! I knew we were going there.
Yeah, we lost.
Well, what happened last week though? What happened with the?
Don't we have a show? We have a show to do. I'm gonna keep.
You brought it up.
I'm gonna keep my faith.
You brought it up about the world champions, so I just wanted to make sure we cover all of the angles so that you know what time it is. To help us to understand. You know what I mean?
I got you.
So one of the things I want to talk to you about, especially as a leader, and I have to share with you all. One of the reasons why I have such a high regard for this gentleman. As the CEO of Career Source South Florida, he has done wonders for our community in terms of making sure people get the proper training for job readiness, making sure that folks have the information about availability of jobs, especially in times like these where people are being furloughed or laid off. There's a great demand on his services, and he's very innovative in terms of how he can actually meet the needs of the community. So, Rick, talk to us about how you got started in this whole thing and what motivated you to get into this role.
Well, again, service is one thing. My father was the executive director of Operation Push, the local affiliate in Kansas City. And my mother was an educator. And so for us, service is key. I mean, I have a twin brother who is a physician. So he serves, those on the physical side and health side.
Right.
I serve in terms of education and, talent development. And so that's how we got started. I mean, honestly, how I got in the workforce, I got a call from my mentor, a brother named Tom Jones. And he had just been appointed the new director for this agency that was being created by the governor. And so he was told he needed to take a look at me. And so I actually had an interview for a job in Atlanta, Georgia. Matter of fact, 3 days before he had called me. And so, I wasn't thinking about it. On that Sunday, my pastor asked me, because I interviewed on a Wednesday, they offered me on a Thursday. We negotiated salary on a Friday. So I'm moving to Atlanta.
Right.
And on Sunday, my pastor asked me, would I be director over finance for the church? I don't know why I said yes. I just said yes. Monday morning, I get a call from Tom Jones, his secretary, to meet me the next morning. And his comment was, I don't mean to be too presumptuous. He slid me an org chart with my name on it. And so... God was like, okay, you got to stay here. And so I did. So I took the job. It was in workforce development. I'm an economist by trade.
Right.
And so it was truly a blessing. But how I took over from Tom 2 years later.
Wow. So he was grooming you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Matter of fact, he appointed, after a year, I was a one-stop coordinator in the state of Missouri. which was
for the entire state.
For the entire state to develop policy and operational leadership. And so the next year, I was appointed director over the state workforce board.
Right.
To again implement policy on behalf of the governor and on behalf of the citizens of the state of Florida.
Right.
I mean, Missouri.
Missouri.
And then the next year, and I remember this, Tom uh, Tom and I, when we would meet, if it's in the morning breakfast
Right.
meeting, something serious. So we're in Kansas City, and he says, "I need to meet with you in the morning." Okay, yeah. And so he said, "I'm stepping down to run the workforce agency in St. Louis. I want to appoint you. I asked the governor to appoint you as my replacement." I'm like, okay, Now I know when he's given his resignation.
Mm.
Again, God has a funny way of making things happen.
Right.
And so he hasn't given his resignation, but I was called down to a meeting in the Lake of the Ozarks with the deputy cabinet director over economic development.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why. And so I'm meeting with him, and he's asking me to would I consider a position to replace a gentleman who has taken another job, which is over. His guy's name is Dan Ross,
Mhm.
over administration. So you're in charge of all the trucks and leases and everything for the department. I'm like, okay. Now I know Tom's resigning. Okay, they don't know
Right.
Tom's going to resign.
Right.
I do. And so only three of us, his secretary, myself, and Tom. So I'm running out of the meeting. I'm getting in my car. And Tom said, what did David Mitchell want? I said, man, they want to offer me Dan Ross's job. And I'm asking him, what do I do? Now,
Right.
keep in mind, Dan Ross has worked under maybe 3 different governors. Okay? 3 different governors. And so I asked Tom for his advice. He said, well, you can push paper and pencils, or you can change people's lives.
Right.
I didn't hesitate. I said, I'm going to change people's lives.
Right.
And that was my comment. And so Tom resigned at 3:00. Now, again,
Did that speed up his retirement?
Tom's resigning at 3:00. I'm already back in Jeff City, Missouri,
Right.
in my office.
Okay.
So Tom is resigning at 3:00. 3:30. Now, I'm got to meet again, digressing. I got to meet with the governor's staff for Dan's job.
Right.
The next day. And so I'm like, okay, at 3:30, I'll call now the cabinet director. His name is oh, my mind just went blank.
It's all right. You can have a
Mitchell.
senior moment.
Yeah.
It's all right to have a senior moment.
Joe Driscoll is the guy's name.
Right.
And so I called Joe at 3:30, knowing Tom has already resigned. And Joe was saying, I was just thinking about you. And I said, well, I know Tom has resigned. And he kind of just cut me off. We'll talk about his position tomorrow. And so I was put in that position. I did it on an interim basis and then took over. But again, God has a funny way of making sure things happen. I didn't pray for it.
Right.
But again, I said I wanted to change people's lives. It wasn't about, again, pushing paper and just having a title.
Right.
It was about how you serve people. And that was, that's how I got into workforce, man. Or how I became workforce in Missouri and then down here.
That's a wonderful opportunity to be able to serve the people
Mhm.
in your hometown,
Mhm.
in the state that you
Mhm.
were born, and being able to make a difference in that. I really didn't realize how much of the political acumen that you have to serve in your role.
Mhm.
So did your predecessor really groom you for that?
Yeah, I mean, I had a number of folks politically. My father, of the late, senator, her name is Mary Bland.
Right.
She was, like my godmother.
Okay.
Okay. And watching again, we grew up in the politics.
Right.
You had Rain, you had Operation Push. You had Freedom Inc., which is a political organization, black
Right.
organization in Kansas City. You had the NAACP and SELC. So you
Right.
had all these organizations. My father was running Operation Push
Right.
in Kansas City. And so we grew up watching the dynamics. You grew up seeing that. And so for us, it became, second nature. You know what I mean? And so just watching people. And I remember how Tom, we would have these meetings. And so there's some things I even tell my own staff, don't always want to be in the meeting.
Right.
Pay attention to the meeting.
Right. Right.
Watch language, watch body language, watch, mannerisms.
Right.
And so I'd go to a meeting with Tom. I'm not there to interject. I'm there to watch.
To observe.
And so as I'm looking, I can see people's mannerisms and how they're relating to Tom. And
Right.
so Tom and I will then have a conversation after the fact. And I'm saying, okay, such and such made this comment, or I saw this. And, it just, again, gives you insight. So when I'm in my own meetings, I'm watching people.
Right.
That's why I don't like Zoom.
Right. You
I like
can't,
Zoom
you can't
meetings. I
see
can't
all
pick
of the
you-
body
yeah,
language and the
can't see the
cues.
body language. You
Right.
can't see those things. And that becomes important, And so, again, you have people who, kind of groomed you. You watch them. And so, again, I moved to Miami. I didn't know anyone.
Right. And Miami is difficult. It's much different from Missouri.
Well, because there, when you shake someone's hand,
right.
you cut a deal, the deal's done.
Done, right.
Here, the deal's, it can go 5 or 6 different ways.
It was an honor system that was respected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are times I would cut a deal in Missouri to help serve people.
Right.
And it may not be in the best interest, of what I felt of me.
Right.
But it was the best interest of serving the people. And so you did it. Here, man.
So you talked about so many things. You captured a lot. And I hope you all catch these nuggets that he's dropping. So really, in terms of leadership, one that you talked about was just being very observant. And then you talked about how you were groomed, not only as an adult, but as a youth growing up with an activist, if you will, and a very prominent man. His father is a very prominent man and a well-known man, well-respected internationally. So talk to us about what are the qualities of an effective leader. I mean, you pretty much shared a lot of it, but give us a...
So if we, look in scripture, if you look at, Jesus, when he washed, the apostles' feet, servant leader.
Right.
And that to me is important, being a servant leader.
Right.
One of the things I do share with my staff is that if you don't want to serve God's people, don't work for me.
Wow.
I make it very clear. And some people may get offended at that.
Right.
But if you don't want to serve God's people, don't work for me.
Right.
Because it is about being a servant leader. It's about being, having integrity about what you do.
Right.
And what I share with staff all the time, like we had one of our providers do some things wrong.
Right.
And so as an example, I brought leadership in, and then I called the state. Now, no, I called the state and said, here's what I've identified. Here are the problems. And here's how we're going to fix it. Okay. Where most folks would try to hide that.
Right.
And just wait for the state to come. No.
Right.
I've identified the problem. Okay. I'm following on the sword that here's the problem. Number 2, here's what I'm going to do so that we don't have the same problem again. And that's how you lead.
So I like that. I like that one of the things I think is very important about effective leadership is transparency. So, I mean, once you look at what's going on and then you communicate and then you actually develop a plan to address what's going on. A lot of folks believe that they need to conceal, the negative. But if you conceal the negative, all it does is just continue to build and build and build until it explodes.
You can't remember the lie you told.
Right.
But we have children.
Right.
So it's the same thing that, about honoring.
Right.
Your niece,
right.
Lauren.
That's right. That's right.
And so during
that's
COVID,
his daughter, by the way.
So during COVID, I wanted her to get the vaccine. Suzanne didn't want the vaccine. And so, nor for Lauren to get the vaccine.
Right.
And I remember Lauren saying, well, Dad, we can go ahead and just get the vaccine and we don't have to tell her. And I said, no, we're not going to do that. Because now I'm setting precedent for you not only to lie to your mother,
but to lie to me.
But then lie to me.
Right, exactly.
And so even though I wanted her to have the vaccine, because again, during that time, people were dying.
Right.
And so I chose not to. One, do it because, again, I wanted her to understand integrity.
Right.
Number 2, I'm not going to lie to your mother, okay, for something I know that, it was one of those choices. And I always say God has a way of making sure things don't happen.
Right.
Because he protected her and Suzanne.
Right.
But if I had maybe gone against her mother's wishes, And we both had custody, but
Right.
again, I wanted us all to be on the same page.
Right.
So when I'm trying to give her as the example of we don't lie, be truthful. And sometimes, it could be something that you don't like, but still. And so I didn't want her to see, to lie to her mother, for me to lie to her mother. We're not going to have that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And again, for those of you who are watching who may not hold a title or a leadership position, you understand if you're a parent or if you are a caregiver, you have leadership roles. And these qualities that Mr. Beasley is speaking about are transferable. It's not just about business. In fact, it seems like it really makes up who you are as an individual in terms of just being consistent.
Yeah.
The same person I am in my personal life is the same person I am in my public life or my professional life.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I maintain those same standards. What does it take to sustain a leadership role?
It's funny, I saw the notes and I was looking at it and said, I've always asked a question how elected officials do what they do.
Right.
And particularly, in my church, I don't see all elected officials there. And I'm not placing blame on anyone. I just say, I know for me that I have to be in church.
Right.
Okay. Now keep in mind, growing up, my father was a deacon.
Right.
My grandfather was a pastor. Okay. And my father always told us, you can go out Saturday night, you can party all day long, but I expect for you to be in church.
Right.
Okay?
On Sunday morning.
On Sunday morning.
Right.
And so that's my expectation of myself. If I go out on Saturday and I'm out late, I know what the consequences are. Okay. You still going to be at church at 5:30. All right. You still have to set up. You still need to be in place because you're there to serve.
Right.
And that's that to me is important. There are times I'm exhausted, but I'm still there to serve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, you are a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
That is just across the board. Like I said, private, public, family, that sort of thing. You maintain those roles as a servant leader.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things I think, one of the qualities of a good leader is knowing how to establish relationships and leverage relationships. What role does being able to establish and leverage relationships play in the work that you do?
Oh, it's very important.
Right.
It's about one, creating a bond,
Right.
but also respect and trust. And the trust becomes the item. I mean, an example that we're partnering with Tina Brown over at OIC. And, of a project we're trying to do. Matter of fact, let's go back when Bill Diggs was over, the Moaning Foundation, and they were building the new facility. For those who haven't seen the new facility at OIC, it's fantastic.
It is.
So I made a commitment that we were going to provide all the technology for in terms of IT for that facility. Now,
right.
Bill's gone.
Right.
But I held to my commitment. I made a commitment that my board, we were going to ensure that the citizens in that area were going to have digital access. And we fulfilled our commitment.
Right.
If you go down there now, the second floor, it's powered by Career Source South Florida.
I've been there.
And so if you give your word, you honor it.
You honor it. Yeah.
And so those are things I try to explain to staff to say, hey, but when I'm calling the state, I bring them in to the conversation because I want them to see how, there are times you have to go out and say, hey, we did this wrong. No problem. Okay. It's just like, as a parent, if you tell your child, don't lie to me.
Right.
And if they tell you the truth, the punishment is not going to be as severe.
Right. Right.
If they lie to you, then the punishment is going to be severe.
More severe, right.
And so that's what I'm trying to share with them and saying, hey, I'm telling the state, we identified a problem. And they were like, okay. I told them how we were going to handle it, and we did it.
Right.
And so we said what we were going to do. We honored what we're going to do. And that way, if I'm no longer there, and one of the things I do share with our staff is that if I'm no longer here, I want to prepare you on how to lead the agency.
Right.
I have a couple good folks that I want them to replace me. I want them to be able to run workforce agencies, But again, it's not just to be in a title.
Right.
It is to serve.
Right.
It's always to serve.
Right.
You know.
And sustainable leadership, some folks feel that relationships should be transactional.
Mm.
What are your thoughts about transactional relationships?
Well, see, here in Miami, it is transactional.
Yes.
Look, I've lasted so long.
Uh-huh.
I've been here 20 years.
Yes, you have.
When I first got here, I was told that I wouldn't be here that long. I was told, don't pack and don't paint my walls. Oh, yeah. That was told to me personally. I won't say who it was.
Right.
But that was told to me personally. And I'm like, man, I'm here to serve.
Right.
And so, again, it is about building trust and about sharing. I'm not trying to take credit for stuff.
Right.
If we're launching initiatives and programs, I want the leadership to take it because they've allowed me the flexibility to implement these programs. Who am I to take credit?
Right.
You've given me the flexibility to say, hey, we want to create a Women in Tech initiative.
Right.
We've done that. Okay. And so why wouldn't, my mayor take credit for that?
Right.
Because she's allowed me the flexibility to implement programs that help benefit the people that she's been elected to serve.
Right.
I'm just a steward to help make sure it happens. That's all.
Right. And just so you all know, you spoke about one actual program that they provided the technology for. In this era of technology and needing to know technology, AI is running rampant now, that sort of thing. He has done that for several organizations that I could name right off the top of my head that serves, underserved communities. Big Brothers Big Sisters one. I can just go down the list. He's done things for local colleges, including HBCUs. So there again talks about that, just your principles and just who you are as a person, your dedication. Again, you talk about the whole thing about just being true to your word.
Yeah.
Something that you said, earlier about in Missouri, a handshake was a solid agreement.
Right.
Not nothing in writing or whatever. So those principles help. So how did you manage to hang on longer than the person who warned you about being?
Again, it's developing relationships
Right.
with the community.
Right.
And so, we have relationships. You mentioned, HBCUs. We had partnered with FMU.
Right.
We're partnering with the YWCA, so the Women in Tech Initiative. We're about to launch our new program.
All right.
Again, development relationships that, remember David Gilbert that used
Right.
to be my assistant director. Now he's the director over human services
Right.
for the city of Miami. Call David up and say, hey, let's leverage some resources.
Right.
And so, again, if you show true partnership about, you're serving the community, it's a win. Commissioner Gilbert, when he was the mayor of Miami Gardens,
I remember.
we launched a program with him. Then we launched another program on the summer employment program.
That's right. I remember.
That's his baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that.
The summer employment program was launched because, Commissioner Gilbert said he wanted to make sure his youth, and we've been doing that, I don't know, close to 10 years now, I think. We just finished our summer employment program. And what they did, they put some money on the table. I matched the money on the table.
Wow.
Okay. We're doing the same thing in the city of Homestead and city of Opelika, but again, partnering with them. We partnered with, which is now, again, the 10 North group, which back then it was Opelika CDC.
CDC, right.
Okay. And so we put a tech hire center
Right.
in partnership with them to have digital access in communities that would not have it.
Right.
And so to me, it's always about serving individuals and making sure they have access. Another prime example is that, food stamps are cut off. Now we serve those who are required to look for employment.
Right.
And so Monday morning, I'm on my way into the office, reached out and called one of my staffers and said, hey, Mr. Washington, do me a favor. Have staff create a flyer, and I need us to go in and take a look at all the locations that their food banks and send it to every SNAP recipient, email blast it to every SNAP recipient so they have access to where they can go get food. We did that because, again, I'm
awesome.
looking at, man, all right, in this position, what can you do to make people's lives a lot easier? That's it.
So you just fill the gaps. Wherever you see that gap, wherever you see that need, you fill the gaps. I think that one of the things that is definitely so very important about what you do in terms of the summer employment for the youth, introducing them to the workforce so they can develop skills so that they can be, citizens that are being productive and contributing to the economy. And then also with the technology transfer, really providing technology. We are in the era of AI.
Right.
And a lot of our younger folks are, although they may be tech savvy to a degree, this is an area that they need to really be more proficient in, because that's what's happening now.
Right.
AI, as we just heard recently, Amazon laid off 14,000 people. There are a couple other organizations that are laying off people. What are you guys doing at WorkSource to make sure that folks who are entering are getting the proper training so that they can be technically sound and viable for those who are looking for folks that have that background?
First step is with us as staff.
Okay.
We're working with Miami-Dade College. We want to give a shout out to Madeline Pumariega and her folks over there. We're going to train our staff in AI.
Okay.
So they can be more efficient in serving and helping, the people that we serve, the clients that we serve that know how to put the resumes, how to do resume building, how to do interviewing, their interviewing skills. We're getting our staff trained. But also I mentioned to you that we're working with Tina Brown with OIC to launch an AI piece there. But at the same time, we had a call with Miami-Dade College with Antonio Delgado to look at how we can reskill and retool even existing workers in the area of AI, what we call customized training.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the platform. But keep in mind, man, we've been doing Digital Divide.
Yes,
we launched it over,
15 years,
before it was even the Digital Divide. We've been doing that because we took what, we looked at, and I don't like to say welfare recipients. I hate that word.
Right.
We call them, I changed that title when I first got here to Miami.
What did you change it to?
We call it the Career Assistance Program.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
I hate the word welfare.
Right.
And so we changed that. And so we launched a technology piece to give CAP recipients, all right, digital access. And so we paid for 1 year in internet access and gave them the equipment. Awesome. We were doing that before. Now you see, when you had Comcast and others, we were doing that before.
Right.
But partnering with Comcast, we were able to even enhance that more.
Right.
They've given us laptops to be able to assist. So this new Women in Tech that we're about to launch, where we got the folks ready. We got 20 people in the city of Miami. And so again, let's talk about the politics. I was sharing with staff because they wanted to try to recruit. I said, whoa. City of Miami gave us the money.
Right.
And so I said, I want participants from every city district. Okay. And staff was saying, well, why? I said, because though each county commissioner, each city commissioner voted for that.
Right.
So who am I to go against
right.
what they wanted? So I want to make sure every citizen in their district has an opportunity for this program. And so that's what we've done. We recruit them. So we're about to launch that piece. But we have PCs for every recipient, and we'll pay for 1 year of internet access for them. So in their preparation for the program.
Right.
The idea is to build talent.
Right.
Okay?
And knowing not to bite the hand that feeds you.
Exactly.
Right?
Because I want to come back.
Right.
See, so the beauty was that the city gave us $250. I matched the $250.
Right.
Okay. My dollars could be used for the training.
Right.
So we gave $250,000. They gave me $250. We'll do the training. Their dollars will be used to incentivize employers to hire.
Right.
Okay. And so let me put a little twist on this too, of trying to have our staff focus on the benefits of our community from the business side, because the only customer that I serve is the employer.
Right.
That's the only customer, because job seekers can't hire themselves.
Right.
Okay. But just like General Motors and BMW, they do what? They build a product so that the consumer will buy. Right. But they have two customers. There are two clients. They have the dealer and they have the consumer.
Right.
And so they got to make sure what they give the dealer is sellable. It's the same thing that I do.
Right.
My job is to retool, reskill the workforce so that employers will hire the individual. And so, but I have to make sure I meet the needs of that employer.
Right.
And that's what we do.
And you're doing a lot more with Miami Dade too. I'm with Dr. Roll and
Oh yeah, on the apprenticeship program.
On the apprenticeship program, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very familiar with that. You know what you guys are hearing too is just that to be a leader, you can't be in a box. So what Rick has described is just several ways of being innovative in his approach to deal with certain issues that he recognizes are happening in our community, things that we need to do to address what's going on in our community. There's so many initiatives there, but we want to really highlight here when we talk about leaders, what leadership principles are. You've heard those, about being, just being trustworthy, making sure that you're a person of your word, making sure that you build those relationships, making sure that you're addressing the needs at hand, and then having the foresight and vision to even go further, the technology transfer, the training and all of that, the job, the employment programs. These are things that are key to healthy communities.
Right.
Think about it. When you provide those things in the community, then there's less likelihood for those who are involved to get involved in other nefarious activities, So one of the things is, this is why I say this guy is probably one of the best kept secrets in Dade County. But
I'll write you a check for that. I'll write you a check for that.
All right. Make sure it has enough zeros on the end of that check now.
I know you're gonna say that. I owe myself over that one.
but these are just some. I can't even name all of them. Earlier on, you spoke about your father sharing with you about the importance of being in the house of worship, whatever your faith is. So we're not signaling for folks to be of a certain faith, but those of you, whatever your faith is, and how important it was, no matter what you were doing during the week, but on Sunday morning being in church. Talk about faith and leadership and how that faith helps anchor you in your leadership role.
I always say this, I never want God not to have me come to heaven. All right. And so first of all, you have to, you forgive, and you'll get into heaven because you believe in Christ. Okay. But for me is that I never want to say, I turned someone away. You didn't feed me. You didn't clothe me. And for me, what we do is to help people. So I don't want to be that person that says, well, you bypass me. I have a thing that if I see someone on the street, I don't give out money. But I'll write a little note on the back of the card and tell them where they need to get services.
Okay.
And there's sometimes I'll even call.
That's good as money.
I'll call. Because again, my uncle passed away. And I remember I was downstairs, this is in Atlanta, Georgia. I had just flown in. And so my aunts were all out there, and my mother and everybody was outside. And this young man was peddling. Okay. And so, and again, you got to kind of give an example, show example. My father was always an example, but he went to his pocket to reach to give the young man some money. And I remember slapping the money out of his hand and saying, Dad, I will miss the funeral. I will walk him down the street, because the Georgia Department of Labor was right down the street. Michael Thurman, who was the commissioner, was a friend of my father's and a friend of mine, a colleague of mine at the state level. I said, I will miss the funeral and walk him down just so he had an opportunity. And again, I go back and reflect and say, my father said, you always give 130%, okay? Particularly for those of us of color, all right? You have to give. And so I was willing to give up going to the funeral just so I can make sure this young man had a job. But I'm just not going to give him anything. And so my father and I were driving, riding back in the car. So why'd you knock the money out of my hand? I said, because you told me I had to work for a living. You told me that, nothing's ever given to you.
Right.
And I said, you're giving him money. I said, Dad, he was younger than me.
Right.
And so you were going into your pocket, giving him some money that, again, I can walk him down the street and see what other services we can get him to become better.
Sustain him for a longer period of time, right?
So, and he's looking at me and said, yeah, I guess you're right. I'm like, yeah. But that's what, I always remind us what you taught me.
Right.
Is what you taught me. look, everybody is not going to be in the same place.
Right.
Okay. My grandfather was a sharecropper.
Mm.
Okay. My father grew up in rural Georgia.
Mm.
My father had whip marks on his back because he wasn't picking cotton fast enough. Okay. And so when people say, oh, y'all living in the past, no, I can show you
Right.
now.
Today. Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so again, the lessons my father told me was always about, again, the integrity, your character, because he gave me one thing, my name.
Right.
Okay. And so my name, what carries me. So again, it's about the integrity, transparency, being a servant leader. Those become important, but also valuing people. I'm not better than anyone else. I put my pants on just like you put your pants. Well, your wife had to help you today, but I had to throw that shot. In there.
You got one. That's the only one you're gonna get now.
But we're no better than anyone else,
right?
Whether we're rich or poor,
right?
And so, again, it frustrates me. Even and we have a lot of what I say red tape in how we serve. I still won't break those rules, but I don't want poor people proving that the poor just to get services from us. I hate that. And so I'm always asking staff, how can we eliminate the barriers? How can we be more efficient and more effective of helping people get access to our services? That's what we focus on.
So, do you think that your foundation in faith?
That was my father, man.
Is definitely influencing what you do on a professional. I know it is for your family, because I know what your family means.
Doing Good by the Good Book by David Stewart, man.
Okay.
If you haven't, there's like 8 principles out of that book. And again, and I wish people would read that book. David Stewart is a multi-billionaire brother, owns one of the largest technology companies in the world out of St. Louis, Missouri, called it's Worldwide Technologies. The brother is bad, but he wrote a book, Doing Business by the Good Book. And so I want people to read that. And then, look, I'm not perfect. And I tell staff.
You don't say.
No. and so, if I'm fussing and I say, but you're not doing it for me.
Right.
What I'm asking you to do doesn't benefit Rick Beasley.
Right.
It benefits the people that we serve.
Right.
And there's times we got to fight for those folks. I mean, when we got some legislation now that I'm pushing to use opportunity zones as a substitute for income.
Right.
So if you live in an opportunity zone, you're automatically qualified for my program.
For those services.
Right. And so I'm not asking for more money.
Right.
I'm asking for flexibility.
And access.
Exactly.
Access. If you listen to the theme across the board, it's about providing access to those who don't have access to these resources. So
exactly.
that is tied into the faith, in the word it says, if a man comes to you hungry, you feed him before you give him the word. You give him access to what he needs. And then talking as well about what you were mentioning earlier about your father wanting to reach in his pocket and get money. And it says, there's a proverb or a saying that says, it's better to teach a man to fish than give him a fish,
right.
So that they can sustain themselves over time. And right now, it seems like your work is about sustainability, but it seems like it is a connection. It is there's synergy between what you do and your faith. This is something that goes hand in hand. It's not something that is a conflict for you at all. In fact, it works together.
I told you, I said, if you don't want to serve God's people, it don't work
for you, right?
Okay. And no, and I truly believe that, because we are here to help. I've even told staff, look, guys, if your family members, particularly your immediate family, are in need of help, let me know.
Right.
Okay. I will reach out to my colleague here in Broward to do it. Why? Because I didn't want a conflict of interest.
Right.
So the conflict is that not only do we fund organizations, but we also regulate them. We have to monitor them. And so if you call one of your friends or one of the staff at a career center to help your family member get a job,
it's an abuse of power, position, right?
And I don't want that. Even asking staff to say, hey, look, when we had summer employment program, I remember I first got here, Moa Betty was the CEO of the Children's Trust.
Right.
And they put money on the table to match my money. And so, I'm finding out some of our staff have their children, and I asked them to take their children out of the program.
Right.
And so they went, well, why? Because again, that's the culture.
Right.
And I said, well, wait a minute. You know about the program.
Right.
We're designed to ensure that people who don't have access, who are in need,
or don't have resources,
have access.
Right.
Let them get the services first.
Right.
Not you.
Right. Right.
And I mean, I know we're not back then. I mean, they weren't making a lot of money.
Right.
But still,
there are people that are doing
you were
worse off.
working. You're working,
Right.
but there are people who are worse off.
Right.
And that's who we're supposed to serve.
Right.
And so, I believe that. If not, tell us, let me know. I will make a phone call on your behalf so that we can help you immediately. But to utilize our providers to help, that's a conflict.
Yes.
A major conflict, and I don't like that
Accurate.
because I never want to look. Again, I said my father gave me one thing, my name.
Mm-hmm.
It is about my character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't say I was perfect, but it's about my character. Okay? And so I truly believe that people, if you're in public service, okay, you have a responsibility to the people that you serve. All right, and you're not going to be able to help everybody, but you still need to make an impact. And so if you were in my office, people, I always make up, are we making an impact? Are we making an impact?
Right.
The policies we're doing, are they making an impact? And we need to change people's lives. We got to change people's lives. I preach that all the time. Okay, I probably shouldn't say preaching because somebody's say he's using God in the government work. I got in trouble with that one time.
I see.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I still believe. Praying. I get every morning. I pray before I go to work.
Mm.
Okay, I need it. And Sister Kim, I pray for you on your husband. That's 2 shots I got right there. But it is about and I'm no different from you, Ruben, that we believe in God.
Yes.
We believe that God has ordered our steps.
Right.
We rely on Him to give us guidance. There's sometimes we don't always follow the guidance.
Right.
But we're there. We are led by who He is, and so that we want to serve His people, and that's important for me.
Right. And you practice what you preach. Mm-hmm. You practice what you preach. So it's one thing to say it, but there's another thing to live it.
Yeah.
A sermon is better seen than heard any day. You know what I mean? And when you see your walk, you see that sermon. I'm going to go into another area now.
Okay.
With all that you do, I know that there are challenges along the way. What advice do you give to leaders? And you can give an example of, a challenge that you faced and how you use your faith, how you use your just your business acumen to address the combination of those two, to address the challenges that you may have faced.
Man, several years ago, they were attacking me.
Mm.
And every day I get up and I pray. I didn't say, God, remove me from the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I always would ask God to grow me up in a situation.
Mm.
So the prime example I would use is a farmer. God is the farmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're the seed,
right?
And He plants us, correct? And so everybody deals with this in their everyday life,
right?
Trials and tribulations come,
right?
Well, that's the manure. Okay,
right.
That's the manure.
They help the plants grow. Huh?
To help the plants grow,
right?
But sometimes, we say, well, I want to be moved. I want to be replanted, as if you're not going to run into
another challenge, right?
And that's how I deal with it,
right?
When I get bad news, sometimes I'm ready to react, and I'm like,
right.
No, that's God telling me, okay, I gave you the heads up,
right?
When I know someone, I'll give you another example of that.
Okay, keep it safe.
Yeah.
Keep it.
Oh well, I'm in DC, and one of my boys came up, one of my colleagues came up. He runs another area, and said, "Hey, this guy was going around saying that you all are falsifying your placements and you all are cheating the system." Now, first of all, I'm never going to cheat to be number one.
Right.
Again, a rule I have: I'd rather be dead last than to cheat to be number one.
Right.
I don't. And so I was ready to, the next morning confront him. Oh, I was ready to go. And then I said, I thought back and I kind of listened to God in my head to say, well, man, I told you, I gave you a heads up who this guy is and not to trust him.
Right.
I gave you a heads up.
Right.
So I didn't need to because I allowed God to take care of him.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't for me to you know, to go after him. You know, see when David's family and everybody got taken,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then David said, God, can I pursue? I didn't ask God, could I pursue? I just let it go.
Right.
I let God handle it. But again, we're going to deal with trials and tribulations. I never asked God to move me. I always ask God to help grow me out of the situation so that I can learn.
Right.
And it's the importance about learning about the trials and tribulations that you face.
You know, I do something similar. One of the things, whenever I'm faced with a challenge, is I ask, okay, what lesson am I supposed to learn out of from this experience? You know, instead of blaming people or, you know, being angry towards someone, I'm experiencing this for a reason. And I agree. I like your analogy of manure. And this manure that I'm in right now will help me grow if I will allow it.
Exactly.
To, you know, I can go out and do something that's equally as destructive, and then I don't grow. I'm actually digressing than progressing. And so I like that. Again, in terms of leadership, you talk about how you respond, and the way that you respond is almost everything, you know. You're going to be faced. There's one thing in life, you're going to always have conflict. You know, if you're ever in a situation, I always say this, where, I mean, siblings conflict, marital couples conflict. But if you're ever in a situation where someone agrees with you 100%, run.
No, but you're right. Because it is, you know, I share with staff to say, if everybody's happy with what we're doing, then we got a problem.
Right.
Because I can't make everybody happy.
Right, you can't.
You're not going to make everybody. But it is about compromise.
Right.
You know, and that's where we have to have, you know, again, as a leader, to compromise and then have compassion. That's, you know, important.
I'm glad you mentioned that word, compassion. You're a man of faith, so you know about grace. You know, we come by this far by grace. You know, so like you said, no man is perfect, no woman is perfect. The bottom line is that we are where we are by the grace, by His grace. So one of the things I think, again, you know, when you have, you know, the different leadership styles, and we'll be talking about this. You know, we have a catalyst method for coaching, and so one of the things that we'll be doing is doing this coaching. We're going to use a lot of the principles that you've talked about. You know, we may call it something different, but we're going to be using a lot of principles that you talked about just now. So for those of you, again, I want you to think about it not from the standpoint of just being a CEO, like we both are, or being in some sort of leadership position within your church, or even in within organizations that he's affiliated with, you know. But even as a parent, even as a coach, or whatever it is, you're a coach of a little league, you know, just making sure that you have grace and compassion. A lot of times people are going through things that we don't always understand. But if we extend grace, I think that helps them through. You were about to say something?
Well, I'm going to say, to the point, also admitting when you're wrong. You know, we have to admit when we're wrong.
It's hard to do, isn't it?
No.
It is hard to do for a lot of folks.
Well,
for a lot of folks, it's hard. They don't want
to admit that because it's about people think it's a right or wrong.
Right.
And so sometimes, you know, if I'm sharing or disciplining staff, I said, it's not about being right or wrong.
Right.
You know, we have to sometimes sit in somebody else's shoes.
Right.
And have empathy.
Right.
You know, and sympathize.
Right.
Where that person is. And if you're wrong, you know, hey, just admit it. You know, hey, man, I'm sorry.
So what happens when you encounter a person that does not like their errors to be addressed?
Oh, there's a number of folks. So I'm like, you know, so just like children, you have to meet people where they are, and you have to have the kid. You know, it's like, you know, I have 5 kids.
Right.
All of them different.
Right.
Okay. Personalities are different.
Right.
I love them all equally.
Right.
So same thing with employees. You know, you treat them with respect. And so somebody thinks that you're treating someone more special than they are. No, I'm treating them how they are because that their personality is different from yours. And so you have sometimes people that you know, don't want to be challenged.
Right.
And so I catch myself, particularly if I'm sitting something in writing, I will rewrite it several different times to take the emotion out, you know, to compliment, but also then to correct And so that way, again, if they read it to where it is, they should not take it. But you can't always judge, how people
Right.
take it. And so, we sometimes got to step back and say, hey, let me rephrase it or let me rewrite it.
Right.
And I catch myself a number of times. And sometimes I'll send it to my assistant, read this for me. How does that sound? Is it too aggressive? Is it, no, that's fine, Mr. Beasley. And there's times, I have people rewrite my stuff and reread it for me, and just to make sure I'm being, nice and compassionate, because sometimes we get in our emotions,
Right.
that our emotions, but so that's why you should never react.
Right.
And so I try to sometimes take steps back
Take a
before
beat.
I write something, and then, but I also want staff to see, oh, Mr. Beasley does it this way, because again, I want them to also to be able to serve in a way that people respect and honor their work. That's all.
So you have a lot of leaders that rule with an iron hand, right? And so folks don't always feel empowered. They feel more belittled or maligned. Talk about how, you gave us one example there, but talk about other ways of how you empower your staff to make them feel, or the people that you're working with, to make them feel that they're a part of what you're doing and not just being criticized for the things that they do wrong.
Leaders give a vision.
Right.
Okay. So several years ago, the U.S. Department of Labor hit us up on a couple items.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't want us to have the same problem again. And so I asked staffers to create me, take our monitoring tool,
Mm-hmm.
and we take samples. You're pulling paper files or you're pulling data elements on a sample size. I said, I want to do it 100% every day. And they look at me like, Ms. Beasley lost his mind again. I said, no, I didn't tell them how to do it. And so I had Terry Havachera, who's now deceased. Love her. She was fantastic supervisor. Her and the guy named Jan Perrin,
Mm-hmm.
who was my assistant director over administration. They got together. Now, I didn't tell them what monitoring. I wanted them to take our monitoring tool, but their vision was, hey, we're going to take the state's monitoring tool, so they can't hold. We're going to do it. So we've taken the state's monitoring tool and automated it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to look at 100% data elements every day.
Okay.
An email goes out to my providers. Now, I didn't tell them to do all that. I didn't tell them to do all that. They did. So now we're the only workforce board in the country that does this.
Mm.
The state of Florida gave me money to give access to all the other workforce boards.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think I give credit to? I'm the first one to say, I just gave a vision.
Right.
Terry Havachera,
Right.
Jan Perrin created this tool that now we're trying to contract with the state of Missouri and the state of Nevada on this tool. I didn't create it. I just said, here's my vision.
Right.
Here's what, and they did it. And so you give them the credit of, because they empowered it.
Right.
Y'all make me look. If I get an award and I have staff there, I have them stand.
Right.
And I said, I thank you for the award, but you're honoring the work of my staff,
Right.
and not me.
Right.
I want to be very clear.
That's awesome.
And so, the idea about when I said I called on Monday,
Right.
about passing out to the SNAP
The staff
participants.
recipients. Right.
Mr. Jarvis Washington, hey, Mr. Beasley, can we create another flyer and send it out to organizations on where they can contribute?
I've received it already.
I said, man, I like that idea. Okay. So I called another guy, in an office, Robert Parson, and said, hey, Jarvis came up with this wonderful idea.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you implement what they put in order.
Right.
I don't do this work. I give a vision. They're the ones who come up with the processes to do it. I'm good. Why wouldn't I give them credit?
You have to have a tremendous amount of self-confidence to be able to do that, because, invariably when things go wrong, you take the responsibility, the other folks don't. And then for you to even, when things are going good, a lot of leaders want to take that responsibility, but to acknowledge your folks who did the work, I think is key. And that is definitely empowering. That is something that motivates folks to want to do more,
Right.
to be more innovative, be more creative in the process. So I'm glad to hear that. I think that in terms of any leader, when you're able to put your ego aside and let people be seen, heard, and respected that are doing the work that you've given the charge for, but you haven't given the details for, I mean, that's very powerful. So if you have folks that are working with you, working under you, that sort of thing, these are the things that you want to do to make sure that they're empowered. Again, everything that we're hearing today is about how do we support, how do we give access, how do we encourage, how do we build. And when you build these folks, when you build, whether it's your workforce or whether it's the community people that are utilizing your services, whether it's your staff, your community, you build stronger communities. So that is definitely something that is very important. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Nah, brother.
You good? You good on
I'm
that?
I'm good.
One?
I mean, look, I thank you for the work you all do. See, again, we're here with Ruben Roberts, and Ruben may not share what he's done for this community. He always want to brag about other folks, but Ruben's been leading the effort to ensure equality across Miami-Dade County. And so I want to thank Ruben for the work that he's done to ensure that we all have a voice, that we ensure equity, equality in Miami-Dade County and also across this darn state. But he's one of our a fantastic community leaders. So I just want to put that on the record right now. But after we get off this video, I'm gonna talk about him.
Yeah. Well, he's already started talking about me. I want you to know that. So, he got 2 shots at him, and I haven't taken the jab yet, man. But it's all good. This is what relationships are all about. When I called Rick and asked him to be a part of this podcast, because I want you all to see effective leadership and hear from effective leadership. It was very important. And when I called, he did not hesitate to agree to come, and he made himself available. Now, I know his schedule was busy, mad busy, but he made himself here available, not just for me, but for you, the listening audience, so that there are some things, some cues that you can pick up on. A lot of the stuff you may be familiar with already, but again, he put it in a proper context of what works for him, and what may work for you. So I just want you all to just be aware of those things that we discussed today, and just make sure that you look at these principles, these practices, making sure whatever role you are in, you may be in the financial sector, you may be in the technical sector, all of these skill sets that we talked about are transferable. So make sure that you're aware that they are transferable, and make sure that you can utilize these practices. All right, so as we look forward to the future, talk about where you're going, what you're doing, where do you see yourself, where do you see workforce, where do you see you in your role of faith, how all of this, what's your vision for the future?
First of all, I'm always going to serve God.
Right.
All right. And I've already shared with my staff that I'm not going to be doing this forever.
Right.
That is,
where I found what, 70-something years old now?
See, now's your first shot. I'm not as old as you, though. What I share with staff, I have a mentor that I love. This guy, Clyde McQueen, runs the workforce board there in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
And Clyde loves what he does, but he's about 72 years of age. I'm not trying to do that. I want to prepare, and where I think Black leaders, we don't prepare. And I want to say leaders, period. We don't prepare people to replace them.
Succession planning.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I'm trying to do that. I have a young man, Mr. Jarvis Washington, that I think the world of. I have a Mr. Jaffe Cruz. These are folks that I think that can do some outstanding work. We had a young lady, Carlisha Weiss, that I wanted her to also be in there. And she took a job in West Palm. That's where she's from. And I miss that because, again, I want to make sure that we're equitable across the board. But again, it's preparing our future.
Let me interject.
Yeah.
So he's named some names of people who work with him, but he has people who had who he groomed and have gone on. David Gilbert is one.
Oh, David Gilbert. Oh man, David's off the chain.
Yeah,
he's doing some fantastic work.
He's doing some fantastic.
I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him.
But again, he credits you He credits.
He should.
There's not a time that I speak to David and he doesn't credit. Would you say he should?
No. I said he should. I mean, look, David is bright. He's innovative.
Right.
He comes up with some ideas, but if you let people just do what they do,
Right.
I mean, I know, look, I've been doing this for a while, so
Right.
I kind of know the ins and outs of this. I say I know enough to be dangerous.
Right.
But I also like to challenge staff to think things differently, to see how we can be innovative,
Right.
how we can use technology to do what we do to make their jobs a lot easier. David's fantastic. You can talk about Jarvis Washington.
Right.
Oh, that boy bad.
Yeah.
Oh man, that boy was bad.
Yeah.
I got a new guy, Joffrey Cruz. He's been with us for about a year or two.
Okay.
And some of the things he's done when companies lay off, we get these what they call warn notices. We know before people even know they're about to get laid off. We talk about typically sometimes 6 months before they know they're supposed to get laid off.
Really?
Our goal there is seeing how we can help them get employed before they get the layoff notice. Joffrey Cruz has come up with some innovative ways to get the information out there to the folks and how he can serve. I got folks that that think a little differently,
outside the box.
Outside the box, because we want to be able to serve,
Right.
and that's key. And so I'm not trying to do this,
Right.
Forever. I love what I do. This is
Right.
not a job for me.
You do it well.
This is a mission.
Right.
Okay, it's a mission.
Right.
But I got people who that believe in what I'm selling the Kool-Aid.
Right.
And when I first got here,
Mm-hmm.
the easiest thing for me to have done was to blow the whole thing up.
Mm.
That's the easiest thing that I could have done, because we had an $8 million disallowance from a potential disallowance from the feds,
Mm-hmm.
$645,000 disallowance from the state. I just got here. This was on my desk. This was the audit findings.
Mm.
Okay, 27 findings. So the easiest thing I could have done was fire everybody,
Right.
blow the thing up.
Right.
But the part is they sold what they bought into what I was selling.
Right.
And that's where you have to be able to, inspire folks,
And rebuild. Right.
Power is in the ability to influence. That's the key. You don't have to be upfront,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to influence.
Right.
We're this small little workforce board here in South Florida. So I think, folks, Ruben knows this. We wrote a waiver request to allow us to give up 100% wage reimbursement to employers who are doing business in an opportunity zone, and anyone living in an opportunity zone, I can give up to 100% wage reimbursement.
That's right.
Okay. State of Florida.
So now, before you move on from that, I want you to all understand that one of the, as a business owner, one of the most challenging things for small businesses, and this is where he's being innovative, is cash flow.
Yes.
So if I'm being reimbursed for what I'm paying my staff for and reimbursed for training my staff, that is huge.
Right.
Because, you can have money out there,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't always come in a timely manner.
Exactly.
But if you have other supports, so this wage reimbursement program, again, another innovative idea, was an excellent opportunity to help small business sustain themselves. Remember, it's all about sustainability and growth, because these small businesses are the number one employers, right?
Right. The beauty here is, as the current law says, I can give up to 50% for a larger company, 25%. And so I'm looking at the areas that have been deemed blighted,
Mm-hmm.
and the citizens that live in those areas. And so we wrote a waiver. Love Alex Kelly, who the Secretary of Commerce, saw it, jumped on it, proposed it to the State Workforce Board. The State Board approved it. U.S. Department of Labor now has approved it. Now, what's key? Not only can every workforce board in Florida use it, but every state in the country can piggyback off that waiver request.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are we changing the lives of people here in South Florida,
right? But
now you're changing the dynamics of what people can do, what workforce boards can do in their respective communities.
right.
And so I share with staff, we're going to be the benchmark.
Mm.
I don't want to be the best workforce board in Florida.
Right.
I want to be the best workforce board in the country.
How about that?
And so that's what we do. And so not only that piece, but we're asking for legislation to look at using opportunity zones as a substitute for income. It doesn't just help folks here in South Florida. It helps the citizens throughout the country. That's the key. And so, again, it is, how do we serve? you know. But again, I got some good folks, man, that make my job so easy, man, that I can just do this stuff and they can help serve people, and I can go off and run and be on your podcast while they're watching the kitchen being cooked.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you. I want to thank you so much
My
for
pleasure.
joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from a very dynamic man, a community leader, a servant leader. Don't let me get
Yeah,
it
servant
wrong.
leader.
A man of faith, a family man, a man that has definitely been responsible for change, not only locally or whatever state he resided in at the time, but as you hear now, on a larger scale. And I'm very appreciative of all that you've done. You may not always hear that. You may not always get your roses while you're smelling, but I want to
Appreciate
give you your roses
Thank you,
now.
brother.
I want to give you an opportunity to say some last words before we close.
Again, I just want for those who are in leadership position to be compassionate. In the times that we're living in now, I don't see the compassion in leaders. And so if you want to be a true, servant leader, it is about being compassionate and serving those that you're there to be elected to serve. Or if you're a bureaucrat, again, thinking of ways of how you can help improve the lives or the system in which you're over. That's key. I always, I want to leave my agency better off than when I took it over.
Excellent. I don't know. That's going to be a big task for somebody to fill those shoes, man. I'm telling you, because, in the last 20 years, man, I've seen so many innovators. I've seen the impact that you've made on our community. And again, I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you, brother.
And if you're looking to level up your leadership, I'm opening up 10 spots to you to join my coaching platform, the Catalyst Method. Please visit our website and sign up today. The information on how to get to our website is below. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today on Share This, Conversations with Ruben. I hope that this conversation inspired you today and gave you something that will help you while you're on your leadership journey. I offer consulting and leadership development services through RER Consulting, designed to help leaders grow with clarity and confidence. You can learn more by contacting me at rer-consulting.com. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please like, subscribe, and share. Also, leave a comment. Your comment may inspire some future leader. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.
That's when we come together to set the world on fire, fire, fire. Yeah.